I've said spontaneous so many times I can't forget. I can't forget. That means I always remember how to pronounce it. Don't look at the frickin' screen. How's it, everybody? Johan Bester here. Welcome to another episode of Voice Matters. Now, this topic I'm really passionate about because over the years I've adjudicated so many competitions and examined so many performances of singers and musicians. And this whole question of stagecraft, really, there are so many foundational things that someone like me, I think it's really basic, but most people don't do it. So when you go on stage, what does it take to make you successful on stage? There are certain things that I definitely can do and things that I definitely shouldn't do that'll enhance my delivery, make it stronger, make it more impacting. And it's not just about how good my content is or my voice or my words or whatever. It's actually about how do I own that moment on stage? How do I demand attention? What do I do with my body and my face? How can a microphone become a very powerful tool? Now, the first thing about using a stage or a platform well is how I enter the stage. Remember this, your performance or your presentation begins the moment people can see you. So walking tall and with your shoulders back is really, really important. And then making eye contact with people. So while you walk up on stage, make eye contact with at least 3 or 4 different people. If it's a really big stage, a big auditorium, and the lighting is good and, the crowd sits in the dark and you can't see people's faces, then you pick a spot in the audience and you look there. And then you look in that direction there. It'll still make the people who sit there feel like you are looking at them, connecting with them. And then, very important, if there is applause as you enter the space or the stage, you must acknowledge the applause. It grinds me so much when a performer walks up and people acknowledge them. This is saying thank you for coming to perform for us or speak to us. And then that singer or performer just doesn't make eye contact and doesn't acknowledge the applause. Just walk straight over to their microphone or go and sit at their piano or whatever. You must acknowledge applause. It's actually a sign of humility. It's actually you saying, thank you for the applause. Thank you for your thank you. Thank you that you are grateful that I'm going to speak or sing. Thank you that you came out. I'm humbled by it. That's what that bow means. Now, it doesn't always have to be a deep bow. It depends on a number of things. Like number 1, how large the room is that you're in and how large your audience is. Number 2, the intensity and the length of the applause, how long it lasts. Please don't bow after the applause ended. People do that all the time.
Really?
Yeah, they clap as they walk up, especially choir conductors. They walk up, people clap, and then when they're halfway, people stop clapping. Then they walk to the middle, then they turn around and they take a deep bow. Because that's like now 7 people feel like, oh shit, we have to probably clap for this person. And then the nature of the event or the occasion will also play a part in how I acknowledge the applause. If I'm speaking to, let's say, 50 people at a seminar, then maybe just a nod of the head will be sufficient. As opposed to when I walk on a stage with 600 or 1,000 people watching, I'm going to sing a big song from a music theatre genre, for instance, then maybe a deep bow is appropriate. If I'm a school student and I'm participating in an Stedford or some, similar school type competition, then maybe it'll just be your mother and your best friend clapping when you go on stage. Then all you do is smile. Then, of course, my age and how well known I am to my audience also plays a part. If it's one of those moments of, yay, here he is, I haven't seen him perform in a long time, there's an expectation and there's a frame of reference, and the applause is maybe warm and extended, I can take a bow. Whereas if I walk into a setting where people don't know who I am, they don't know what to expect, they are not familiar with me or the content that I'm going to deliver, there might be no applause. Another thing that can play a big part in my stagecraft, the whole stagecraft thing, is whether or not I have to use a microphone. So most of the time, if there is amplified sound in where there's going to be a presentation or a concert, then most of the time it's a microphone, right? Like one of those that you hold in your hand. Sometimes speakers have a head-worn mic, but most of us have to deal with a normal condenser mic or whatever when we sing. So what you have to decide as a singer or speaker beforehand is, do I want to hold the mic in my hand or do I want it on the mic stand? Right? First thing. Then sometimes I decide, okay, I'm going to hold the mic in my hand for this song or this speech or whatever. Then maybe when I walk on stage, guess what? The mic is on a stand. So I don't change my plan. I remove the mic, but very importantly, I remove the mic stand. I take it totally out of my way. You don't want a mic stand just hanging around doing nothing if you're going to hold the mic in your hand. Then, once my performance or my speech begins, I have to draw my audience in. I have to draw them into me, into my moment that I'm trying to create. And you can't fake this. It has to be real. You, as the performer or the speaker or the presenter, you have to be focused. Your energy has to be focused. You have to be centered and balanced. Then people will feel that. It'll settle your audience down and they can be drawn into that moment. And then, of course, once I've established my character or my mood or, the nature of that moment, I have to stay in it. And maybe you're thinking, duh, it's very logical. Yes, it is. But you'll be so surprised how many performers or speakers go in and out of that moment all the time. Or they don't stay in it all the way through until the end. Yeah, and this point is super important. You have to stay in the atmosphere, in the moment that you are trying to create, all the way through your performance. Again, I've seen so many people maybe perform a beautiful, tender, sad, whatever, a song with a lot of emotion, and they finish it really, really beautifully. And then they snap out of their mood and their moment and the thing that they created. They snap out of it too quickly. And the worst is if they then say, thank you. Please don't do that. You don't have to say thank you. Here's my advice. Try to keep your audience in that moment as long as they can hold it. Sometimes you finish a song or you say the last line of your speech and it's a thoughtful sort of thing that you said, not a big bang finish. And you just finish and you just wait. You don't move. Your facial expression doesn't change. You don't move your body. It can be quiet for a few seconds. Hold it as long as you can. And when you can feel it in a live setting. You can feel the audience's energy change. When you feel that moment, when people start to relax, you relax your arms, your face returns to your normal face. Then that moment is properly completed, finished. The illusion that you created with the artistic moment that you created, it is over and now it's just Johan again. Then, of course, some people think good stagecraft always means trotting all over the stage. It doesn't always. I mean, think about it. If you do as a singer, if you do a pop or a rock song, the sound is good, there's lighting, it's very alive and big, then go for it. Jump, run all over the stage if you want, if it suits that setting and that kind of music. But many times, the most effective way to own your moment, in other words, exercise really good stagecraft, is when you're just still in one spot. This obviously has to do mostly with the type of music that you're performing, if you're going to sing. But it also has to do with the setting, like I just explained. It's a big venue, big sound, lighting, everything. It's different to a smaller space, right? And also, it has a lot to do with who you are as a person. What do I have to do, and how do I do it, so that whatever I'm trying to convey, the message, the emotion, the creative moment, is real and authentic to me. And this is sometimes a challenge when we sing a well-known song. Like if I want to cover Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, that has been done 70, 100 million times. Okay. So just because the previous person that I saw cover that song walked around or sit in a stool instead of standing or whatever, doesn't mean I have to do it. I have to find my way to be real and true so that I don't have to fake it. Also, crucial during my performance or my presentation is that I make eye contact throughout, not just when I walk up on stage. So I pick a spot in the audience. I mean, this doesn't mean that my head goes from side to side. Some people do that, especially kids when they're young and their teacher told them, you must look at everybody, then their head goes from side to side. That's silly, right? It's not real. I find a spot in the audience and I sing a whole phrase or two phrases in that direction. So whether it's dark and I can see the faces or not, I make people feel I'm looking at you, I'm singing to you, I'm communicating with you. Then I might take 2 steps in this direction and pick a spot a little bit higher up over there and I sing to those people there. It's very important that my whole audience, from the left to the right and from the back to the front, feel included. That everybody feels like I have spoken to or sung to, communicated with all of them. The most important thing for me about moving around on the stage is that it mustn't look or feel planned or rehearsed to my audience. Now, when I go on a stage for a particular kind of performance or speaking engagement, I definitely have a plan. I always have a plan. Just a basic idea of what I'm going to do. Because before my event, I went into that space, I did the sound check, I checked where the lights are, I worked out how big my stage is, how far I am from my audience, all those logistical things, I've worked it out. So now I plan a basic strategy of how I'm going to use the stage. But then once I actually begin and my audience is there, then I don't do it in a way that makes it look like I planned it. This takes many hours on a stage, obviously. You know, when you are 10 years old and you start out at a school competition, obviously you're not going to have the level of skill in this area that someone has who's been doing it for 30 years. But you have to make it look real, authentic, organic, comfortable. If you look uncomfortable on a stage, even the way you move, oh, now she's taking 4 steps to the left, oh, now she's walking back to the microphone, but it looks uncomfortable, then it actually makes your audience feel uncomfortable. And that is horrible. Don't do that. So if you are young, like school-aged, or even if you're older, an adult, but you are new to getting up on stages, then my advice is make a plan and execute your plan. And then next time you try something different, if you can see that afterwards that some of that didn't work as well, Practice, practice, practice. It takes time. And then, please acknowledge the applause when you are done. Same thing as with acknowledging the applause when you entered the stage. It's rude not to acknowledge applause. You know how I spoke about humility? If you don't acknowledge applause, it's rude, and it actually can come across as arrogance. Like, yeah, whatever. No, people clap because they appreciate you. They appreciate your effort. They appreciate your message or what you brought to them. Acknowledge. And then depending on the setting, like we talked about, either take a proper bow or just a smile and a nod or whatever is appropriate for that setting. But don't just storm off the stage. And then finally, your performance is not over until you are totally out of sight. So leave the stage, hopefully, the way you entered it. Upright, confident, open shoulders, making eye contact with people, if you can, while you leave the stage. And you keep that energy and that focus and that posture, whatever you had, you keep that until you are behind the curtains or totally out of sight. Very important. I know many of these things may sound trivial, or you may think it's so obvious and so logical. But I have to just make the point again that in 30 years of adjudicating and examining and being at concerts and performances, most people don't do it. I've even seen very good amateur, like what we would call professional amateurs, or some professional performers, not acknowledge applause, not consider, not plan things. So look again, listen again to this video and write these things down. If you are serious about getting better, I know this is the kind of thing I say so often, but it remains true. If you are serious about improving, then you should make an effort. You should learn from these things. If you watch this video once, you might remember one thing that I said. But if you go and watch it again, pause it, write things down, think about it. And then, of course, like I said in my Voice Matters episode on performance anxiety, one of the best things you and I can do to improve is to record ourselves. Do your performance. If it's going to be at school, then go after school one day into the hall when there's no one there and ask a friend or somebody to just film you with the phone. Do your performance. Look at it. You will quickly see which parts of the thing looked comfortable, which part did not look comfortable. Where were you in the dark as opposed to in the light on the stage? Were you making an effort to connect with the whole audience? So record yourself, film yourself, look at it, do it again, repeat that process. The more you can see what you will look like to your audience, the better. So yeah, there are just a few things for you to think about in terms of stagecraft. Of course, my chat here today is just very general. You really might need the help or the advice of a professional person in your field. Maybe if you're a person who takes part in debating competitions or Toastmasters, public speaking kind of things, then there are some real specific things that apply to you. I was trying to be, as broad as I can, but of course I mostly chatted about settings where people perform as singers. But yeah, I hope it was helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, go and watch it again. If you enjoyed it, please give the video a like and also check out all the other things that are on the channel. And before I go, I just want to say I'm working with a young singer here in South Africa. Her name is JEANIQUE, and she's 16 years old, but she's definitely destined to go places. And I've put a link below my video to a music video of hers that was released earlier this year, of a song she wrote called Dark Side of the Moon. It's also on the end screen of this video. Please go and check it out. So until we spend some time again, I hope that you will stay well and healthy. please take care of yourself. That's it. Done. Multiple voice notes from Corneille came through in the meantime, and I was still able to stay focused. I'm very impressed with myself.